welcome to Wrestling Raw!
All right, you're listening to Wrestling Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when Raw became war and Attitude ruled. You are here with Ryan.
She is a Jezebel.
Yes, she is. That Jezebel. And I am Joe, and we are operating on a two-man booth again this week. Hopefully back to our normal three-man booth next week. But today we're going to talk about the Raw that aired on November 9th, 1998. This is the go-home show to the 1998 Survivor Series,
which has a subtitle.
Deadly Game.
Is it the first time that I think we talked about that a little while ago, but I feel like I don't remember Survivor Series ever having a subtitle.
Yeah, I don't know that it did, to be honest. And we know Vince loves all these stupid catchphrases. Talk about some of that tonight, actually. But yeah, this is the go home to the Deadly Game Survivor Series 1998. This episode took place at the Reunion Arena in Dallas, Texas. And I'm not sure if this was a live show or a taped show. I'm pretty sure it was taped. I did not see a live graphic on the screen, so I'm assuming it was a taped show.
And I do think I heard a bleep somewhere, too.
Oh, okay.
Although they did not blur out the middle fingers, but that was on the second half of the show, and sometimes they didn't anyway, so who knows,
yeah.
But
that's when all the kids are in bed.
Right.
That second hour. On commentary, we have Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler. Right from the start here, Jim Ross tells us that The Rock is going to have a match with Mark Henry tonight, and that The Rock must win by pinfall or submission, or he is out of the WWF.
Whoa.
Now, if you don't know what that means that he will be unemployed.
We'll get some clarification on that later.
We will, yeah.
Michael Cole.
Yes, unemployed. With that said, let's get into our first match of the night. The Undertaker with Paul Bearer versus X-Pac ends at a no contest in 20 seconds. We may be wondering why this match is even happening. I know I was right from the start.
Right. Seemed like an odd matchup.
Yeah, the reason for that is on Sunday Night Heat last night, The Undertaker interfered in X-Pac's match that he had set with Steven Regal. So it appears as though that match never even took place because The Undertaker chokeslammed X-Pac before that match even started. He chokeslammed him almost into oblivion, according to Jerry the King Lawler. So even though this is only 20 seconds, I do want to give credit to some of the storytelling in the ring during this first 10 seconds. And that is that X-Pac is hitting The Undertaker with a couple of kicks in the corner. Then he does a little bit of a celebration, and that was a mistake because The Undertaker capitalizes on that and just starts destroying X-Pac immediately after X-Pac's short little celebration there. So X-Pac trying to take advantage of the situation a little bit here. He's only got 20 seconds to work with, so might as well make the best of it.
Get your shit in.
Get your shit in. Sell, sell, sell. And this match lasts 20 seconds because the lights go out and Kane's music hits. As Kane walks slowly down the ramp, Jim Ross reminds us that Kane and The Undertaker will go up against each other at the Survivor Series this Sunday. To remind our listeners, that is going to be a tournament for the WWF Championship, which is currently vacant. So that's going to take place at the Survivor Series. Undertaker and Kane are set to do battle. Here tonight, Kane just throws a fireball at X-Pac's face.
Hadouken!
Yeah. And Billy Gunn and Road Dogg come in to help X-Pac, and the paramedics come in as X-Pac is screaming, "Ah, it burns!"
Like he's got a sexually transmitted disease.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm not sure how they pulled off this magic trick, but it worked pretty well. But they're also burning a man's face off, so it's a little It's not really believable, but the magic trick was pulled off. And Ryan, what were your thoughts on the events that took place during this first match of the night?
Well, I think just like you, I was pretty shocked at first to learn it was a match between X-Pac and Undertaker. And it didn't last long, as the time shows, 20 seconds. But X-Pac got a few quick kicks in, and then the Undertaker, rightfully so, started dismantling the, quarter his size X-Pac. The gimmick, though, the fire gimmick, very well done. I agree with you. It looked like it shot out of his hand, went right into the face of X-Pac, and JR called it unearthly. Maybe that's what it was. I thought they drug out the injury kind of long. I thought they went to break, they came back, he was still there for another few minutes. It maybe wasn't quite as long as the Mankind Chainsaw Charlie getting pushed off the ramp and the dumpster length, but I felt it went a little bit long. The medics came out, they worked on him a little bit, if you will. Yeah, they had to work on him. So I thought it worked. It just, the medical part of it went a little bit long.
Yeah, they're definitely starting off with a bang here on this episode. I was a little...
Literally.
Yeah, I was a little worried because for the past several weeks now, we've been starting with our lead storyline, which is Mr. McMahon and Stone Cold Steve Austin. But when I saw that they were starting the show with Undertaker versus X-Pac, I thought this is a lot different from the past several weeks as far as how the show is starting.
Yeah.
But then they had Kane almost burn a man alive, so we're back to the soap opera.
And he's going to get a little more violent even later.
Yeah. So we go to a quick commercial for the Survivor Series, and then we come back from break, and we can see that the paramedics are still working on X-Pac. They might be working on him for a while. We then get a shot of Mr. McMahon and his wheelchair in the back. Mr. McMahon meets up with Mankind and tells Mankind that tonight he will have a Hardcore Championship match against Ken Shamrock, where falls count anywhere. So again, for our listeners, last week is when Mr. McMahon presented Mankind with the brand new Hardcore Championship, and tonight he will defend it for the first time. Mr. McMahon then tells Mankind that if you're going to be somebody, then you have to look like somebody, and that there is a makeover coming for Mankind. Ryan, what were your thoughts on this little interaction between Mr. McMahon and Mankind?
I enjoyed it. This is something I definitely remembered. The moment he talked about his makeover, I knew exactly what he was going to look like later on in the episode, and quite frankly, was looking forward to it.
Yeah, we come back to the ring, and we are on to our next match of the night. Val Venus with Terry Runnels defeats Steve Blackman by disqualification in 2 minutes and 19 seconds. So with Val Venus and Terry Runnels, of course, we are still working on the who is the father gimmick of Terry's baby. Terry sneaks into ringside here behind Val Venus. It seems like Val wants nothing to do with her, but she's still just hanging around. And to further explain this soap opera storyline, we find out that on Heat last night, Val Venus told Kevin Kelly that years ago he had a vasectomy. So there's just no way that's his baby.
With his profession.
You have to, yeah.
Yeah, you got to be safe.
Yeah. And Val finally notices Terry is there and dismisses her to the backstage area. Val cuts his promo before the match, making reference to Deion Sanders. We are in Dallas, so that's why he's referencing Deion Sanders. And we get a shot of a few of Deion's teammates there at ringside, including Larry Allen, probably widely known as one of the greatest offensive linemen ever, right?
That was one thing that era Cowboys were really known for. They had a fantastic offensive line.
Yes, they did. So those guys are there at ringside. This was a pretty solid, evenly matched matchup here, I think, between Val Venus and Steve Blackman, two mid-card guys that are going to give you a pretty solid match. Later in the match, Terry pays us another visit and gives Val a low blow, which a very safe-looking low blow, by the way.
Yeah, that full forearm.
Yeah, and that allows the Blue Blazer and Owen Hart to come in and attack Steve Blackman again. That's how we end up with our disqualification. Ryan, what did you think of this match and the appearance of the Blue Blazer and Owen Hart?
I totally agree with you in that this was a solid mid-card match. This is the type of thing we talked about a few months ago that we were looking forward to as we really got into the meat of the Attitude Era, and that the mid-carders have storylines that you care about, that you follow, and the wrestling that they do is pretty entertaining as well. These guys are far from top of the card right now, but they have the cheating baby thing going on, and then we bring in Owen and the Blue Blazer. We've got stories coming in left and right here. And then when Terry blasted Val in the crotch, I thought it was pretty ironic that was when Owen Hart and the Blue Blazer showed up after last week, when the Blue Blazer held up Blackman for that punt in the crotch by Owen. So I guess Owen and the Blue Blazer, they smell a ball smashing from a mile away and they get involved. But all in all, a very solid mid-card match. Serviceable, if you will.
If you will. You better protect your nuts if Owen Hart and Blue Blazer are nearby.
That's right.
We then get a shot of the backstage area where Mick Foley is in a hairstylist's chair and he's getting himself a fresh haircut. I also noticed that underneath that mask, it looks like he got a nice fresh shave on his face there. So he's clean shaven under the mask.
Not something you see very often.
So this is the start of the makeover for Mankind. And we then go back to the ring area and we move along to our next match of the night. Mosh with Thrasher defeats D'Lo Brown with Mark Henry, and Road Dogg with Billy Gunn in a triple threat match in 5 minutes and 30 seconds. So this is Mosh, D'Lo, and Road Dogg. How exciting. A triple threat match between 3 tag team singles guys. One thing that they brush past here is the fact that Shane McMahon is the referee for this match. As we remember last week, Vince threatened to demote Shane to a lowly referee.
Lowly.
Doesn't get lower than that.
The ring crew was
Oh, that's right.
lower.
The ring crew, yeah.
That was what was threatened after.
Yeah. So they work this gimmick where Shane screws up and has them ring the bell before Mosh even enters the match, which I thought was hilarious. But I have to say, about 30 seconds into this, I already know that Shane McMahon is a better referee than Earl Hebner, and I'm sure you can agree.
Absolutely. I think anyone out there listening would agree.
Yes. Road Dogg gets a pretty big pop from the Dallas crowd when he does his little juke and jive moves that he completely ripped off of Dusty Rhodes. D'Lo hits a great lowdown on the Road Dogg, but he was unaware that Mosh was set up for the stage dive finisher, which allows Mosh to get the win by pinning D'Lo. So Mosh wins this match. Billy Gunn then comes in after the match to clear out the ring of all of the competitors and their partners while wearing his Shawn Michaels spandex bike shorts. Ryan, this is supposed to get us excited for tag team triple threat match a tag team triple threat match that is coming up at Survivor Series, I believe. So, what is your level of excitement, and what did you think of this match?
I'm first going to start off with Mankind's makeover, because there was one line that I really loved as he was talking to this woman that was giving him the makeover. He talked about having to maybe get some new teeth because Stone Cold threw his teeth into the crowd. I don't know what it was about how the way he explained that, and then she was just like, well, yeah, maybe you should. I found that pretty hilarious. Much more entertaining than this match. D'Lo, I'm happy to see him in singles action whenever, but Mosh and Road Dogg, I think they have been letdowns anytime we saw them in singles action, and I don't think that was anything different here. I was pretty disappointed that Mosh came away as the victor, but as long as the Headbangers don't come away winning the triple threat match at Survivor Series, I guess it'll be all right, but pretty forgettable here.
Yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen. Well, we then go backstage with Pipsqueak Michael Cole, and he is with Jeff Jarrett and Deborah. And Jeff Jarrett does us all a favor and takes the microphone away from Michael Cole and shoves him off to the side while telling us that he is pissed off at Al Snow. who he will be facing on Sunday at the Survivor Series. Jeff Jarrett then passes the mic over to Deborah, who says, I have no idea actually what she said or who she's talking to exactly. She also sounded like she may be a little bit under the weather. I'm not sure what was going on there with Deborah. She did mention, though, that you're 100% man underneath there, and tonight I'm going to prove it, which leads me to believe that maybe we're going to start using the puppies gimmick. I don't know. I'm not sure. Really, it was not a well-delivered promo from Deborah. And then we go back to Mankind with his stylist, and his stylist is giving him a pedicure. Could you imagine having to give Mick Foley a pedicure? That poor woman.
Hope she got a big bonus for that.
Yeah, hit the pay window.
Yeah, extra cheese on that Whopper.
Yeah. And Mankind is talking about his new family. And his new family is mentioned to be the Stooges and Mr. McMahon, or Dad, as Mankind is now calling him. So, Ryan, what did you think of Jeff Jarrett and Deborah and this part 2 of Mankind and his makeover?
Jeff Jarrett and Deborah, that part was, I don't know, I guess it was just there mostly because I agree with you. I just didn't really know what Deborah was trying to say or get at. So that was just a little bit confusing. The continued makeover of Mankind, this is a great little thing that they just keep on going back to. And then we even hear JR drops the corporate moniker, calls him the corporate champ or something. I know he threw in that corporate name for Mankind. So I think we're building up to something with that corporate name.
Yeah, that's a good catch. And after that, we then move on to our next match of the night. Goldust defeats Jeff Jarrett with Deborah McMichael by disqualification in 3 minutes and 27 seconds. So Terry Runnels, she runs down the ramp wearing a gold negligee of some type, according to Jim Ross. Goldust cuts a promo before the match telling Terry that the credits have already rolled and to get the hell out of his life. So again, nobody wants to be bothered by Terry and her baby, and I can't blame these guys. Who would want to be saddled with that kind of baggage? They threw in another plug this week for the Stone Cold Metal CD that is out now, and I looked that up on eBay, and it's actually going for anywhere between $10 and $20 right now, so if anybody wants to pick up that gem of a CD, it's available at an affordable price.
Wonder if any of the streaming networks have it, like Spotify or...
I don't know. I am not sure about that. Deborah comes into the ring to distract Goldust by seducing him, and Goldust falls for it in a playful, funny way, plants a big kiss on Deborah's lips. However, that distraction allows Jeff Jarrett to break an acoustic guitar over Goldust's dome, and that's how we get the DQ victory for Goldust. Ryan, what did you think of our match here between Jeff Jarrett and Goldust?
I'm going to, again, like the earlier mid-card match that we had with Val and Steve Blackman. Mm-hmm. This was another mid-card match that had story, had build-up, had reason to it or whatever. So I didn't think it was that bad. It's still a little bit forgettable, which is a shame. Goldust is, I don't know, we were happy to have him back, but he hasn't quite settled in quite the story that I'd really like to see him in yet. But again, pretty solid mid-card action here, so nothing that I'm going to get angry about.
Yeah, we then go to a shot of backstage, which is The Rock entering the arena, which gets a huge pop from this Texas crowd. After that, we get a little bit of a video which highlights Jesse Ventura's career in the WWF because he has just been elected governor of Minnesota. And I will admit, with all of the past history that Jesse Ventura and Vince McMahon have had up to this point, up to 1998, I was thinking this was going to be a total hit piece on Jesse Ventura, but it was not. Jerry Lawler informed us that Vince McMahon has invited Jesse Ventura to appear on Raw next week. So this was a little bit shocking to me to see that. We then go backstage to Michael Cole, the pipsqueak that he is, with The Rock. The Rock cuts a promo on Vince McMahon and says that he's going to whoop Mark Henry's candy ass. The Rock kind of fumbled a little bit through this promo. It wasn't one of his stronger promos, but he did tell Michael Cole to shut the hell up, so I always appreciate that. And they keep the cameras rolling backstage because we are now seeing Goldust beat the living hell out of Jeff Jarrett in the backstage area. A little bit of hardcore action, if you will. The Blue Blazer then comes in to attack Goldust. So a few different things here. The Rock shows up. We get that little video highlight of Jesse Ventura's career, the interview with The Rock, and then we have this little melee in the back. Ryan, what are your thoughts on these segments?
Starting with the Jesse the Body segment, I'm right there with you. I was expecting a rib when this video started. I thought they were going to be making fun of him, or maybe just a flat out fake like they did with Billionaire Ted or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it wasn't. This was just a highlight of him, and it sounds like he's been invited to show up next week. So I guess at least Vince wants to bury the hatchet. So we'll see where things go from there. The interview with The Rock, it did stick out to me too that he flubbed his lines because that's a rarity for him. He usually is on top of it and he's able to just fire his whatever he wants to say, fire out his entire promo without a single hiccup. So that definitely stood out, but it still was a strong promo. There was just that one spot where it took you out of it. And then I loved Goldust beating up on Jarrett here. It looked brutal. It looked like they were beating the shit out of each other, and that's always a fun thing to watch as a fan.
Yeah, I feel like you have to have something like that on a night where you are having your first hardcore match.
Yeah.
So it was fitting. And speaking of that, let's move on to our next match of the night. Mankind defeats Ken Shamrock to retain the WWF Hardcore Championship in 8 minutes and 13 seconds. Reminder to the listeners that Ken Shamrock is the current Intercontinental Champion, but this is a Hardcore Championship match. And Mankind enters the ring with a full makeover. He is now wearing a tuxedo. He's going to have a match in a tuxedo.
With a cummerbund.
Yes. Dress shoes, the whole thing. So
those look like shoes the King would be wearing.
Yeah. We hear a chorus of loud boos as this match gets underway, which can only mean one thing. Mr. McMahon and his stooges appear at the top of the ramp. It's also worth mentioning that Jerry Lawler notes that Mankind appears to look like a corporate champion. So there it is again.
Again, yeah.
So that is a phrase that we will most likely hear again in the future. I cannot imagine having to have a wrestling match while wearing a tuxedo and designer shoes, especially if I'm someone who weighs over 300 pounds. Like Mick Foley. Eventually the shoes come off, but still, I remember hearing a story, I think Kevin Nash told this story on his podcast about Bret Hart had this travel case that he always had his wrestling boots in. So that no matter where it was a carry-on. So no matter where he went, he always at least had his wrestling boots so that he could work in his boots and not in sneakers or right. No shoes at all,
or someone else's boots or something.
Yeah. So I thought of that as I was seeing Mick Foley here in wrestling with dress socks on and a tuxedo. Again, this is the first hardcore match ever, and it's on Raw here on November 9th, 1998. Nothing that I would say was over the top. We had some hardcore spots. We had an announcer table spot. We had a chair get involved. We had a little bit of fighting in the front row of the crowd. We had some fighting on the steel ramp. So definitely some hardcore elements here as they feel things out in this new era. And as Ken Shamrock and Mankind are fighting at the top of the ramp, the big boss man hits Ken Shamrock with his nightstick, which allows Mankind to get the pin and the win. So, two things here for me. Number one, this is our first official Hardcore Championship match in the WWF. The WWF obviously saw the success that ECW was having during this time, and they decided to try to capitalize off of that, have their own version of hardcore wrestling. This match, I think, had, like I said, it had some good spots for a hardcore match. There were all those elements to it, but just remember, this is the very first official hardcore match in the WWF. It's going to get a lot more hardcore, if you will, in the future. The other thing here is the storytelling that is involved. If this is 1998, I am wondering right now, why is Vince McMahon trying to get Mankind on his team and being so kind to Mankind right now? So this is just really good long-term storytelling right now in November 1998 by the WWF. Ryan, what were your thoughts on the first ever Hardcore Championship match and the storyline that's going on right now between Mankind and his new father, Mr. McMahon?
First off, I loved the way Mankind looked coming out here. Clean shaved, hair slicked back, the fucking full black tuxedo with cummerbund and everything. Absolutely beautiful. That was perfect. The match, later on, we're going to certainly see more brutal hardcore matches. But as you stated, this is the first hardcore match, the first official hardcore match that we're getting. So for that, I thought both of these guys did a pretty good job. As is usually the case, Mankind took the share of the nasty bumps. Every time even he would set something up, he'd always get reversed and he'd be the one thrown into the stairs or slammed onto the concrete or onto the ramp or whatever. That's pretty standard fare for Mick at this point, but I thought all of it worked pretty good. I wasn't crazy about the ending just because I hate that Mankind needed the big boss man's help to win this. I think they're still trying to protect Kenny because they're thinking maybe he could still make a run at Stone Cold or at one of the top people. So I think they're still trying to protect him and didn't want just a clean loss to Mankind. And that was a little disappointing to me. But I did love Vince congratulating Mankind and then Mankind hugging him and saying, "Thanks, Dad." I'm right there with you. As a fan, you're wondering, what does Vince have up his sleeve? Why is he tolerating this from Mankind, who you could see he hates? Every time Mankind calls him Dad, he just gets this look of disgust. And there's a plan here, but as a fan, I have no clue what it is yet, and that's what's intriguing.
Yeah, it's really intriguing to me because it's just different. It's a different type of storytelling because I don't foresee Mankind turning heel in this situation. But there's something weird going on. It's just a different type of storytelling. Normally in wrestling, you have a guy that sort of slowly builds up to turning heel, and that's where they're going, but it just doesn't feel like that's what's going to happen. It just feels like Mr. McMahon is going to screw Mankind at some point here, which is going to make him a bigger babyface than he is. But we'll see what happens. It's really good storytelling. So as that previous match ended, we catch a scene backstage with Michael Cole yelling in the back, "The Rock has been attacked," and we see paramedics running towards a locker room. We come back from a little break, and the paramedics are working on him. They're working on The Rock, trying to bring him back to life. Michael Cole tells us that The Rock suffered a blow to the back of the head, but he doesn't know any other information about the incident because Michael Cole is useless.
May need to be brought to a medical facility.
Yes, immediately. And then the glass breaks, and the crowd explodes. Here comes Stone Cold Steve Austin to the ring. Austin cuts a promo on Mr. McMahon, basically telling Mr. McMahon that any plan that he comes up with to screw him is going to backfire. The boss man comes out to interrupt Stone Cold Steve Austin, essentially telling him that he is going to break every bone in his body and kick his ass at the Survivor Series. The boss man and Steve Austin here actually have a pretty good exchange of words, in my opinion. I enjoyed this back and forth that they had going on. But that was the end of the promo, and Stone Cold then grabs a cold beverage and chugs it to finish this segment off. So, Ryan, I'm going to stop right here and ask you what you thought about Stone Cold Steve Austin's appearance tonight and the back and forth exchange that he had with the boss man as they prepare to do battle at the Survivor Series.
Just for a second, I want to go before the match. A little segment that you purposely, I guess, skipped over, but there was a commercial for the WWF on the Home Shopping Network.
Oh,
and
right.
they pushed some, I guess they're going to be on there after Survivor Series, pushing merch.
That's the new version of the Doc's Cocaine Jam.
Right. It's just really put a blast from the past talking about the home shopping network. Stone Cold, he first came in. This wasn't at the start. It wasn't one of his best. It seemed like he was just talking about his greatest hits with McMahon at first. But then the Big Boss Man comes out, interrupts him, and I completely agree. These two really had a great back and forth. And that's something I didn't remember at all, was that the Big Boss Man was pretty good on the mic. That was nothing in my memory that the Big Boss Man was good speaking. So that was pretty cool. And that really brought it up, because a lot of the times Stone Cold, especially with like Kenny, he gets in there and he spits his fire, and then the other person just lays a wet fart, where I thought the Big Boss Man handled it really well.
Yeah.
Then when it's back on Austin makes a prison rape joke about some squealing in the night or something, and then chugs a beer, which we saw a little bit of at this point during that Extra Attitude segment. He was chugging some beer, but we're not at the point yet where he's chugging every time he comes out here. And it showed, because he just had one beer and he drank this beer a little more gingerly than normal. He was like actually trying to drink it and not just pouring it
too much,
all over his face and chest. So that's going to progress as he gets more and more beer. But no, I thought by the end of this segment, I was getting ready for Survivor Series, because I thought they had a great exchange.
Yeah, this is an exchange that it had to work. Boss Man is Mr. McMahon's new henchman, and he's going to be battling with the biggest star in the business, with Stone Cold Steve Austin. So it's a situation that they were probably thinking in the back, like, this has to work. Like, there has to be some kind of chemistry here, or we're screwed and have to pivot. But it worked very well, and I think many people remember this return from the Boss Man in 1998 as being a pretty good, solid return for him, and this is the start of it. This is one of the reasons why.
He's going to stick around for a while after this.
Yeah. Well, we go back, speaking to someone who just sticks around for a while, Michael Cole. He is giving us an update on The Rock, saying that the paramedics are wanting to get him out of the arena. And Michael Cole reminds us that if The Rock is unable to defeat Mark Henry tonight by pinfall or submission, then he is out of the WWF. And we come back from a commercial, and that pipsqueak Michael Cole is still here. He is now with Mr. McMahon and the Stooges while they are sitting behind an ambulance in the backstage area. Vince reminds us that if The Rock cannot compete tonight, then The Rock is unemployed. Vince also says that it's not his problem if The Rock was not watching his back. So, Ryan, any additional thoughts here on what's going on with The Rock and Mr. McMahon? Any predictions as to how this is going to play out?
Seeing Michael Cole get berated by McMahon, that's always a highlight.
Oh, yeah.
I love seeing that. As far as predictions going forward, I think me, you, and most people assumed The Rock would end up making the match. So this is good build-up. This is good storytelling. But I think just like watching a movie where the hero isn't going to be killed halfway through the movie, he's going to make it for the end. But you're wondering how. So that's the part you're waiting for.
Yeah, as a fan, I'm seeing this play out with The Rock, and I'm just not sure where they're going with it long term. So again, I think this is pretty good storytelling if you're watching as a fan at this time. We then go to our next match of the night. Tiger Ali Singh with Babu defeats Al Snow in 2 minutes and 23 seconds. And it's a shame that Bartlett's not here, because his favorite wrestler, Tiger Ali Singh, is here again.
And I don't know how many more times he's going to get on Raw. So,
well, it's easy to talk shit on Tiger Ali Singh, and I think he mostly deserves it. However, I have to say that this gimmick is just slightly too cartoony for 1998, I think.
Yeah, probably.
If they would have gone with a little bit more seriousness to it and less cartoony, then maybe this could have worked a little bit better. You have Babu out there throwing the rose petals in the ring and all this shit. It's like, it just seems silly.
Very 1995.
Yes. And it might sound a little bit silly for me to say that because we have a porn star gimmick among other gimmicks here in 1998, but I just think that they leaned a little bit too far into the whole ethnicity thing with Tiger Ali Singh, and we are over...
There's a fine line.
We're just over the whole USA chants and shit like that in wrestling by the time 1998 rolls around, so...
Yeah,
it just didn't have a chance as far as I'm concerned. Tiger Ali Singh here, he wants Babu to take on Al Snow. And after the bell rings, we see Deborah start to strut down the ramp towards ringside. Remember, she has a problem with Al Snow as well, since Jeff Jarrett is currently pissed at Al Snow. Al Snow beats up on Babu for a couple of minutes. Deborah takes the mannequin head and starts caressing it, which is enough to distract Al Snow and allow Tiger Ali Singh to come up from behind and get the pin and the victory. The highlight here for me was Jim Ross referring to Deborah as a Jezebel. But other than that, I thought this was dumb as hell. Ryan, what are your thoughts on this?
I agree. It was dumb as hell, except for getting to see Deborah. But what made it even dumber is what the fuck was up with the ref here? Like, so if you're going to allow Babu to stand in for Tiger Ali Singh, if you're fine with that, you're then later in the match going to allow Tiger Ali Singh to just come in, slam Al Snow directly in front of you, and then you 3-count Al Snow out against Tiger Ali Singh. Like, this wasn't a hardcore match.
Well, he's a lowly referee. I think your expectations are too high.
He was. So that he should have a brain at all is just too high of expectations. So stupid match, and let's move on.
Well, we were happy to see Deborah, and I know everyone's going to be real happy to see the next segment here, which is a training video featuring Sable.
Sure was. Training in quotes.
Mm-hmm. Remember, she has a big match with Jacqueline, the current women's champion at Survivor Series. And in this video, there were a lot of push-ups and deadlifting from a rather favorable camera angle.
A lot of squats.
Also, listeners, I don't know about you, but when I go to my local gym, I typically see everyone smothered in baby oil while they work out. Very similar to this video. I've been noting that Sable has not been around on Raw for a few weeks now, and
she's been training.
And Ryan, you were correct. You have been saying that she's been training. And here it is.
This is a video of all of that training.
Yes, it is. So she's ready to go. She's going to have a great match at Survivor Series, and we're all excited for that. We then go backstage again to Michael Cole. A lot of Michael Cole on this episode, unfortunately. And the paramedics are still working on him, guys. He's still working on The Rock.
He's in the exact same position, too.
Yeah. Yep. He got bludgeoned in the head.
Like slightly crumbled underneath a bench, and no one moved the bench out of the way.
Well, they didn't do that, but Michael Cole finally asks the paramedics for an update, but Mr. McMahon interrupts him, saying that he will give the update. Vince says that the update is very shortly, The Rock will be unemployed. So, Ryan, what did you think of Sable's training video? And are you excited for her match with Jacqueline at Survivor Series? And what did you think about our update on The Rock here?
Am I excited about Sable's match at Survivor Series? No. I think I could answer that pretty easily. The one thing I will say is this training video, it really reminded me of the modern Instagram models that are like a video of them training. And again, it's just fucking jack off material for fucking horny dudes.
Yeah.
Of big titted women.
Right.
Again, oil slathered all over them as they slowly do squats and zoom in on their cleavage. Perfect form, Sable. Perfect form.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm watching. I read for the articles, right?
Yeah.
The Rock still on the ground. That was what I had noted. Just it's been 30 minutes now, and no one has rolled him over. No one has moved the chairs or benches out of the way. He's just in the exact same position.
Well, they're working on him.
Don't move his neck. Don't move his neck. But I did love Vince coming in to gloat, so that was good.
Yes. We then move on to our next match of the night. Kane defeats Edge with Christian and Gangrel by disqualification in 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Now, as far as the Brood entrance goes, they're still just doing Gangrel coming up through the stage, through the fire ring, while Edge and Christian just wait at the curtain for him.
They're still waiting for that larger raising platform to come in.
Bigger budget.
Yeah.
But those two guys walk up behind him, so not all members of the Brood are coming up through the top of the ramp like Gangrel right now. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's Survivor Series they will. Maybe they'll have a little bit of a bigger budget there. We'll see. If you remember, Kane burned a man's face off earlier tonight, but he still has a match. He's still allowed to compete. He did not get arrested like many other people do on Monday Night Raw.
Not Kane for murdering people, though. He's never even been questioned by a cop for any of that.
Right. So Kane enters the ring walking down the ramp with a can of gasoline and a blowtorch. He's going to burn somebody alive again. Why not?
More death.
Pretty good work here by Edge for basically the entire match, as he was essentially just selling for this monster. Really nice crossbody on Kane outside the ring, too. The Brood gangs up on Kane outside the ring, which causes the referee to ring the bell and give us that disqualification finish. Kane then proceeds to chokeslam all 3 members of the Brood and stack them up in the ring. Then he chokeslams that lowly referee, throws him on top of the pile of bodies in the ring, and starts pouring gasoline all over all 4 men. And of course, the bloodthirsty fans in Texas are cheering for this. They want to see 4 men lit on, doused with gasoline and lit on fire.
So bloodthirsty.
Yeah, but unfortunately for those fans, several of the WWF referees and officials come out to get all 4 men out of the ring. As
and they
Kane
booed.
Yeah, they did boo that.
They booed that they didn't get to see 4 human torches.
Yeah, in turn, the bloodthirsty fans are now booing, unfortunately. So. Yeah. Kane then exits through the crowd and chokeslams a planted fan, which I did think was hilarious. Ryan, I think this match was good. I think that the shenanigans after with the gasoline and blowtorch is a fine idea, but I do think it made the Brood look a little bit weak here. I feel like the Brood is being billed as this new, young, mysterious, creepy group, but in my opinion, they looked weak here. I think maybe I prefer somebody else in this position. Maybe he could have lit Kai and Tai on fire.
The Headbangers.
Or the Headbangers, or some other
Oddities.
Scrub jobbers, yeah.
The Oddities would be a little bit tougher to play the monster against another monster.
Yeah, I would take it. I would be happy with that. So what did you think of this?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I loved this match. Not only did they continue with the storyline of Kane getting his groove back, being a murderous madman, trying to fucking murder, catch on fire 4 people, one of them just an innocent bystander who tried to stop him from killing the other 3. That was good in its own right, but I thought this may be some of the best wrestling out of Kane that we've seen as of yet. Obviously, he's up against someone lighter, but I think that makes for a better match. Every time we see him up against another monster, it's the typical monster on monster, slow, methodical match that becomes boring. But here, against someone like Edge, not only is he able to really demonstrate his strength, that one time he caught Edge as he was trying to do a hurricanrana up into a power bomb and just murdered him. That was impressive looking. Then Kane just one step leapt up to the top rope to do some move I've never seen Kane or another big guy do to land against Edge that was leaning up against the ropes. We saw some moves here that you see much, much lighter people do, and Kane was pulling them off and made them look good. It wasn't just like, oh, that was good for a 300-pounder. It was just like, oh, that was an athletic, impressive move. Then we get goozle after goozling the Brood, all 3 of them, and then the ref. ref. He's going to fucking murder them all, covers them in gas. We have the bloodthirsty crowd. I thought everything here worked. And I will say again, I think this is the best wrestling match that we've seen Kane in.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. We come back to the ring here and we hear a chorus of boos from this crowd, which can really only mean two things, I guess, now. This happens to be because Mr. McMahon and his stooges are there, but they could also be booing because four men were not going to be lit on fire.
That's true, yeah. They booed when McMahon wasn't killed either.
Yeah.
Screw you!
I want to be clear that they're booing Mr. McMahon here. Mr. McMahon and his stooges make their way to the ring. Vince wants a ringside seat for what he's about to see. He tells The Rock that he has no sympathy for him and insists that The Rock come out here now. And while waiting, Vince decides to take a shot at the Dallas Cowboys members that are in the crowd, saying that half their roster is a bunch of convicted felons.
Yeah, that was another thing I remember about that 90s Dallas team. A lot of them got arrested.
Little troublemakers on that team.
Yeah.
Shane McMahon comes through the curtain in his referee gear. Shane asks Vince why he's taking his frustrations out on all these guys outside the family and says this is about family business. Shane says, Dad, if you want to take out your frustrations and anger on someone, then take it out on me, like you always have.
Ooh.
Yikes, that turns into a little discussion about child abuse here.
Yeah, well, and Vince says he liked it.
That's right. Shane insists that he's not leaving. Vince orders the boss man to give Shane a beating. But Stone Cold Steve Austin, the hero, interrupts and attacks the boss man before he can get to Shane. Shane and Austin then leave up the ramp through the curtain. Boy, you can just sense a swerve coming here with Shane, but even with that, this is good storytelling with having Shane on Austin's side right now. Otherwise, Austin doesn't really have anybody on his side. So I really like the work that they're doing with Shane over these past few weeks. Ryan, what did you think of this segment?
Yeah, I thought it was a strong segment. We're further building up Shane McMahon as a character here, and he's continuing to do well. The one point after Vince tells that the big boss man's going to go beat up on Shane, I loved him saying, I'm going to enjoy this more than I enjoyed punishing you as a child. He really knows how to play a dickhead well. Yeah. I guess the question is how much of it is he playing?
It's not hard, yeah.
Right. But all of this worked, including Stone Cold coming out to save Shane. Like you said, I think we could all feel something coming, especially from someone who's teaming up with someone, but his philosophy has always been don't trust anyone. He may be forced to remember his motto there.
Yeah. But
we're not there yet, and right now, great stuff.
Yep. And that takes us to our last match of the night. The Rock defeats Mark Henry with D'Lo Brown in 7 minutes and 23 seconds. So Mark Henry makes his way out to the ring, and we then hear The Rock's music, but The Rock does not show up. We hear the music a second time, and here comes a wobbling Rock making his way down the ramp, and this match is underway. And the boss man at one point tries handcuffing The Rock to the ropes, but The Rock reverses it and handcuffs the boss man to the ropes. We get a rock bottom and people's elbow successfully delivered, but there's no referee because the ref was knocked out by D'Lo Brown. But wait a minute, here comes that lowly referee, Shane McMahon. And while the boss man is cuffed to the ropes and the Stooges are distracted, The Rock grabs Mr. McMahon, throws him in the ring. McMahon slaps The Rock, which then results in Mr. McMahon getting a rock bottom and a people's elbow while the boss man is cucked and forced to watch in the corner. And we go home and we fade to black. So pretty good go-home ending here with the People's Champ coming out on top here as we head into Survivor Series. We thought for sure that he was not going to compete and that he would be unemployed, but The Rock, the People's Champ, they said the People's Champ about 1,000 times on tonight's show. he is headed to Survivor Series. So, Ryan, what did you think of the way that this episode of Raw ended as a go-home show for Survivor Series?
As I said earlier, I think everyone predicted The Rock would end up showing up for this match, so that was no big surprise, but solid match against Mark Henry. Henry's still fairly green, but they put in good work. The one thing I was maybe surprised about, as we know here in the WWF, we like to forget about things, but they don't mention once that I heard that The Rock was the former leader of the nation and he's out here up against Mark Henry and D'Lo. No talk of the nation. That's just to be forgot about. So I guess that's it. We're not ever going to talk about them again. I thought it was a pretty cool ending, though, with the big boss man getting handcuffed in the corner, which allowed The Rock to end up getting the ultimate victory. I think this was another predictable part once the ref went down that Shane was going to be the one that comes out. But the way this ended, they saw how well it has worked for Stone Cold over the last few months.
Yeah.
So now they decided to give a little extra shine to The Rock and allow him to get his finishers on McMahon. And the crowd just goes crazy. They already love The Rock, but now he's rock bottoming and people elbowing the owner. So they just go crazy as we fade to black. So I thought a pretty good way to set up this go-home show, because now The Rock's back in the tournament and everyone is on their feet cheering as the show ends. So yeah, good job.
Yep, I agree. And like I said, that is the end of our episode of Monday Night Raw. So let's take it to our highlights and lowlights. Ryan, your highlights and lowlights for tonight.
So my highlight, and it's going to be a bit of a shock because it was a shock to me, I'm going with Edge versus Kane, because Kane continued to get his groove back tonight, which is something I'm happy to see. And as I stated in that, I thought this was the best wrestling match we've seen Kane in. So on top of that, he almost murdered 4 people. So bravo. I'm giving that my highlight. Low light, I didn't feel like there was any real glaring low light, but if I had to pick one, if I'm going to be a nitpicking dickbag, Al Snow versus Tiger Ali Singh. That was probably the low light. And my favorite sign of the night, I don't know if you came up with one, Joe.
Yes.
But my favorite sign of the night was I can read. I don't know why I saw that and it made me laugh.
Yeah, there's always some random stupid ones like that. That's a good one. Yeah, so for my low light, I guess I'll start there because I agree with you. The Al Snow and Tiger Ali Singh match, I'm not a fan of either of those guys, really, so I did not enjoy that. My highlight is going to be the first ever WWF Hardcore Championship match. I don't think there was anything real special about that match, but it's special in the fact that it's going to kick off a little bit of a new element within the Attitude
Era. It's a milestone.
Yeah. So that was my highlight of tonight's show. So with that, I will give you some news from The Observer this week from Dave Meltzer. The top story here this week is that there has been some speculation. Oh, wait, I forgot to give my favorite sign.
Oh, yeah.
Let me talk about my favorite sign. There was a sign in the shape of Texas with a skull on it that said Austin Country, oh hell yeah. Nothing real special. I just thought it was really cool that they cut the sign out perfectly in the shape of Texas. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, Crafts Day.
Yes.
Had a little...
Yeah, loved it. Anyway, so we're going to give some Observer news from this week. The top story this week is that there has been some speculation that there is some beef between the WWF and its top star, Steve Austin. So that is not good to hear. The biggest problem stemmed from Bill Goldberg getting a role in the upcoming Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, Universal Soldier 2.
Ooh. The first one was good.
The producers of that film originally wanted Austin to be in the film. They went to the WWF, and according to what WWF officials claim and told Austin, was that they offered $55,000 for the role. So the WWF turned the offer down because that was too low and never consulted with Austin. Austin then got word that the producers then went to WCW and offered the job to Bill Goldberg for $250,000. So Austin complained to Vince McMahon, but eventually Vince McMahon put the heat on Jim Bell, who heads the licensing department, the lowly
Scapegoat.
licensing department, saying that he was the one who filled out the offer and turned it down. McMahon ended up actually sending Austin a company letter of apology for how it was all handled, which pretty well smoothed things over. So not good. Not good there. That's a little bit of a real problem here between Austin and McMahon over business.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's going to rear its head a little later, too.
It will, yeah. So I thought this was interesting to see that. Another thing that's just great news is that Insane Clown Posse quit the WWF.
Oh, thank God.
Apparently, they were promised a commercial for their CD on Raw, and they didn't get it, so they left. So, good riddance.
And I'm glad that they didn't push whatever
Yes.
I'm trying to think of the name of one of their
whatever shitty album
titles, yeah.
Kurt Angle was the star of the training camp again this last week, and they've got high hopes for him to start early next year. Shaquille O'Neal had a cameo last week on the November 2nd episode of Raw, and that was just a last-minute idea as he was simply in the arena attending the show. So they decided to have him be a part of that show. Last piece of news here is I mentioned before that there was going to be a comic book based on The Undertaker.
Yeah.
So The Undertaker comic book is supposedly coming out in January as a preview issue. The first real issue is scheduled for March, and in the comic book, Undertaker will continually battle his nemesis Paul Bearer. So that is according to Dave Meltzer and his
A little
dirt.
behind the times.
Well,
with that
I
storyline.
decided to do a little bit more research on this comic book situation.
I think I did too, way back when you first mentioned it.
Yeah. I found some information on Reddit. Sounds like the comic book series was released by Chaos Comics. I'm not a comic reader. I don't know if you've heard of Chaos Comics.
I did some comic book reading, but it's a shame Bartlett isn't here because he was definitely probably our comic book expert out of the three of us.
Well, according to Reddit users in the series, they introduced the idea of Kane and Undertaker having a sister.
Oh.
It appears as though the problem with this comic book series, though, was that they never really promoted it very much on TV. So I don't know if it really did well in sales, but it did run the entire length of the series, which was 12 issues.
That was what I found. When I looked it up after you said it, I looked it up and saw that it did have a full 12-issue run. So.
Yeah, so it does exist. It's start to finish 12 issues. So I thought that was interesting. And that is all for the news this week. And that is it for our show this week. So tune in next week as we talk about the 1998 Survivor Series with matches featuring the Big Boss Man and Steven Regal. And if you want to connect with us, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. You can email us at wrestlingraw@gmail.com. Also, don't forget to tell all of your friends to tune in to the People's Podcast, Wrestling Raw. Give us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcasts. And for Jason and Ryan, I am Joe, and this has been Wrestling Raw.